Hello again everybody and welcome back to Test Flight in the MiG-15. We just finished looking at a little bit of air-to-air employment, figuring out the gun sight and shooting down an E2 real quick. I had my heart set on an F-86 versus MiG-15 engagement. I'm going to pause right here and do that before I go to the air-to-ground phase, and I was surprised not to see that as an option under instant action. And I'm sure once the missions and the campaign get squared away and finalized, we'll have something that'll just easily get us into that situation. So for now, what I can do is I can go to the mission editor and set up any situation that I want to, and I'll do that real quick. And I mentioned at the outset that I was going to focus more on, in this series more than in any other, some of the interface stuff that I do, the stuff that I don't usually show, and that always involves some tweaking of the missions and getting things ready to fly. So let me do that real quick. It'll take me 2 minutes, so bear with me. And I just need to find somewhere on here that's kind of representative of like a North Korea type terrain. Now this looks promising, kind of hilly, not exactly mountainous, but not exactly hilly either. That's about what I'm looking for. So in the mission editor, I'm just presented with a blank slate. And to add an aircraft, I'll add my flight first. I click on the aircraft icon, I click on the map to place my aircraft, and I click once more to have a waypoint established. I'm going to be coming down from north to south. Now I need to call mine a North Korean, okay, which is obviously not a option on this map. I'll just call it a Russian aircraft. I'll call it MiG-15 skill player. So this is going to be my aircraft. That's how I get it set up that I'll be able to fly it. So I identify it as the player, and I need to now think about altitude. And what would I be expecting here? High altitude, no doubt. I'll go with 38,000 feet, just to give us something to go for. You know, a lot of times the F-86s would fly as high as they could. Anything above 40,000 feet was fairly common to just have an altitude advantage on the MiGs as they were going north. So I think 38,000 feet's a pretty good, without being just extremely high altitude, not being able to maneuver around a little bit. That'll be a good starting point. And is this indicated airspeed or calibrated? I bet this is indicated, so 38,000 feet. I want to be like Mach 0.8 or so. I'll just guess and go with 350 indicated. That's just a wild guess. It's probably way off. I might actually crash as I start this, but okay, good enough. Empty loadout. I just need to set the fuel down to, well, if I were taking off from North Korea or north of the Yalu and climbing for an intercept, I'd expect to have about 2/3 of fuel remaining once I get up to that altitude. Yeah, that'll work, 66%. And for my paint scheme, let me go with, okay, we have Korean People's Air Force. I'll go with this one. It's the Major Arcade Boitsao. I need to do some research and figure out who this person is, but I'll go with that paint scheme. I don't make it a 2-ship. I'll make it a 2-on-2, just so I'm not up there alone. High, I'll make it a good skill for my wingman. And player, okay, everything is set there. I need to go back to my waypoint, make sure that I got both of these. Okay, this one, 38,000 feet as well, 350. And now we are all set. My flight is set up. I need to now add the F-86 flight. So to do that, I click on the aircraft icon. I click down here to the south, click again to have me a waypoint pointing them in the north direction to fly. So we're going to be head-on, high altitude. I need to call these United States. I need to call it an F-86F flight of 2. I'm going to make their skill both excellent. So that will work. Okay, altitude, again, co-altitude. We'll just call this 38,000 feet. No, I won't. I'll call this one 45,000 feet. So I'll give them an altitude advantage initially. 300. Indicated. I assume that's indicated. I'll find out here in a little bit, I guess. And payload, empty, fuel weight. Now, by the time they got up there, thinking of the time frame I'm thinking of, flying from like TACVIEW down in the south, around the Busan area, what would they be at? They'd be about, they would go up with drop tanks. Thinking about, 50%, maybe even less, 40% fuel remaining once they get up there, and then they just limp back, and in a lot of cases they would make it back to base in South Korea just on fumes, and in a lot of cases just flame out and dead stick it into TACVIEW. So I'll call it 40%. No, I won't. I'll call it 50%. I think that would be pretty representative of what what the situation we'd be faced with there. And 45, 300, both waypoints. 300 for airspeed. Okay, noon start, that's fine. And that should be a good setup. That's going to be fairly representative of a, granted there would be more aircraft involved, but yeah, 2 versus 2, head on. Then with an altitude advantage on me, which I should be able to deal with fairly well, I would think. 2 on 2, and that's it. And it's really a lot easier than I made it out to be. It's a lot quicker when you don't describe it, but that's how you can just set something up like that very, very quickly. And to fly it, all I need to do is from here, click on the little green icon right here. And I usually fly missions from the mission editor if it's something that I'm just tweaking or doing myself, something that I just built. So let me do that. I'll get into the air and we'll have some fun with an F-86 real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, picking up in the air. Let me get my throttle square back away. I've got my gun sight out to 800 meters, and then let me get my zoom squared away now. I hate air starts for that reason. Okay, Tal A2 F-86s above me and to the right where I put them. Of course, it's easy if you know where. If you design the mission, you know where the enemy is. I've got my wingman off to my right, so let me preemptively go flight cover me. Okay, got one turning into me, one just hanging in there, turning into 2 now. Okay, the one that turned into me is going low. I'm going to stay high. The one that turned into 2 is going low. Is he not? Is that not the Saber? It is the Saber. Okay, so, well, both these guys just blew their energy advantage they had initially. 2 is actually, well, I said he had a good position on that first Saber, but, yeah, didn't really manage that too well either. Okay, I'm up here with the energy advantage and altitude advantage, so let me go ahead and pull the throttle back in and bring it on down if I can not over-control the aircraft and pay attention to what's going on. Okay, so I've got throttle in, I've got my speed brakes out. So let me focus on this guy out here to my right. Try not to overshoot too aggressively on him. If I could just, doggone it, if I could just control the aircraft, I would have. Okay, let me bring it back in. Okay, 450, so that's fine. I just need to be very, very gentle on the controls. It's, I just need to get a feel for, you know, what the sounds and what all the other stuff that's going on in the aircraft is really telling me as I, you know, since this guy, case in point, gave up the energy advantage completely. Now I totally control the engagement. But I do need to go down there and try to help out 2 as much as I can. So I'm just going to stay up here and take this guy out. So, yeah, what I could do now is I could just pull the throttle in and I can turn with him. Boy, I thought I could. Yeah, you just got to be so gentle on the controls to keep from over-controlling. So 500, speed brakes out. Okay, he's coming down. I'll at least get a snapshot off on this guy. If not a tracking shot. Yeah, I'm sure I can turn with the Saber. It's just finding the right feel and not over-controlling it or under-controlling it as I go. But then again, I don't necessarily have to turn with this guy. I started off and still have an energy advantage on him, so I'm in no danger right now whatsoever. I mean, that's the great thing about having more energy than your opponent. So right now I can just let him cross under me. If he tries to come up high, he's not going to make it. So I can just come back around. I've lost track completely of where poor old 2 is. I really shouldn't do that, but oh well. So I can just kind of complete the turn on this guy, and if he does anything other than turn into me, I'm going to have a good shot. Okay, airspeed 350, speed brakes. I mean, I got some good hits on that, and granted, it's just a snapshot, and that's really all that, if you play the energy game, that's all that you can really hope for, is just snapshot after snapshot after snapshot, unless you really reduce your speed and just get in there behind him and stay behind him, which is not something that I really want to do with a Saber, because we're, as far as I can tell, really kind of on the same page when it comes to maneuverability and the ability to do things in close. So we just come around and repeat that once more. Airspeed 400, throttle is in, Okay, lost sight of him there momentarily. Speed brakes out just to avoid a gross overshoot. Okay, there he is. Yeah, I lost that opportunity because I lost sight. And yeah, see what I mean? Absolutely no danger. There's nothing that this guy can do that could conceivably be detrimental to me one time, or at any time. And assuming I had any concept of where my wingman was right now, and yeah, there he is down below him. Yeah, we would have made short work of this already. So yeah, let me just I'll probably cut this apart. I don't want to. I'm just going to be up here turning over and over and over, and something is actually been shot down. I hope that wasn't my wingman. Let me go flight cover me. Just as a comms check. Okay, unfortunately 2 did get shot down. That's my fault for not covering 2. But let me just bring it back around. I'll do one more snapshot. I don't want to do this too long because I just don't. I'm just not that interested in this. I want to get to the systems, but I did at least want to show some examples of just you know, maneuvering with a F-86, and I'll bring it in here and just turn with him. Okay, so let me go back up high. He's turning off to me, so let me take it back up. I'll do like a high yo-yo just to get back into a good position, since I do still have an energy advantage on him. So now we're just kind of in this little scissor situation. Let me not over control. Let me just bring it on around. Speed brakes out. I had a tracking shot there. I just couldn't bring the nose up. Okay, so let me just keep doing this for a little while, I guess. I'll just bring it on around. Okay, he's coming down below me. I'll be able to turn with him in this case. Low yo-yo. Yeah, he's not going to give me a shot here. Well, or is he? I might be able to make this work. I haven't even uncaged my gun sight at this point, have I? I don't care. Okay, coming on around, because I was, I can't even remember if I explained it at all, but what I do generally is just, yeah, set it to 300 meters and just let it kind of stay there. Okay, coming back up. Ah, come on, if I could just fly. I mean, that's my problem, is I just have no flying ability when it comes to gunnery, air to air, and I'm sure there are a lot of little tricks. If I were really serious about like getting online and doing this stuff, I could set up my control curves to make it. What I do is I over control the aircraft, trying to line it up, and I end up just kind of banking it and yanking it around. And there are some things that you can do with your control curves if you're really, really competitive about this, but I hate to touch the control curves because you can tweak it too much to the point that, I mean, you're just flying the same aircraft over and over, and you're not really getting any of the, you know, any of the quirks of an aircraft, and every aircraft starts to fly kind of the same at that point. Let me uncage this. I don't know why I didn't before, but yeah, he's just giving me a good shot there. Yeah, in this case, yeah, I can track him well enough to take some long-range shots at him. I think he's, yeah, definitely damaged at this point in either case. But yeah, that's obviously way too far out. So let me come in a little bit closer, and I'll just get like a final kill on him. I'll be right back. Okay, coming up again on him now. This is like the ideal situation. This is the only case where I would be able to control the size of the reticule and fly the aircraft at the same time. So that's about 800 meters. You take some pot shots at him now. Firing a little bit low. Okay, got a good hit with the 37, and that's going to be it for that guy. So there you go. That's some fun right there. So okay, let me call that good, and I'll get into some air-to-ground stuff really quickly. Maybe at the end of this video, maybe not. It might be in the next video, depending on how long this takes to cut together. But yeah, I'll be right back. But yeah, I think I will close this one out here and come back fresh in the next video with a little bit about air-to-ground. But I just wanted to close with a couple of comments about the engagement, going back and editing it together and having a look at what all went on there. I obviously did not uncage the gyro on my gun sight until way later on in the fight. And yeah, that was a mistake on my part, and if you've ever watched my mission videos and seen the the debriefs at the end, I'm nothing if not honest. So yeah, I was task saturated there and didn't really didn't pay attention enough to the aircraft and to the aircraft systems as I was going. So yeah, foul on me, and I think if I did the full TACVIEW debrief on this, there would be a lot more to pick apart there. But yeah, I'll leave that up to all of you out there in the audience to do that. But I guess one other thing along those same lines, I did make the comment that I didn't care that I didn't uncage the gun sight. Let me explain that. I don't generally make just off-the-hand comments without some kind of reasoning behind it, and that's no exception. Now, the reason I didn't particularly care was that I was taking snapshots. In other words, I was just flying with the aircraft unloaded and just firing at the Saber as it went through the middle of the sight. You know, I didn't really have any kind of a tracking shot until the very end on either of the Sabers. So for that reason, I didn't really care if the gun sight was caged or not, because I really wasn't using the gun sight itself, the reticule, as that much of an aiming reference. And another thing that occurs to me there is that I mentioned during the video that, you know, the mistake that I make in air-to-air combat when I get in close and try to make a kill on an aircraft is that I tend to over-control the aircraft. And a lot of that also gets down to gyro-compensated sights. A lot of times, instead of flying the aircraft or flying the reticule into the aircraft, I will just chase the aircraft with a reticule, and as the reticule starts to bounce around, I'll just flail back and forth on the stick, trying to fly the reticule into the aircraft as opposed to just flying the aircraft and letting the reticule naturally track up to where it needs to be. So for that reason, I will oftentimes, if I'm doing air-to-air, it's usually off camera, but I will sometimes just leave the sight caged for that reason. So yeah, it was a mistake on my part, but then again, I genuinely don't think that it was that much of a detriment. But I'm going to wrap it up here, and hey, thanks again for watching, everybody. That's it for air-to-air. Air-to-ground coming up next, and then I promise we'll get into the systems and all the good stuff that you usually see up front in these series very, very soon. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.